Hello, and welcome to the Christian Habits Podcast. This is the podcast that will help you break free from your strongholds, draw closer to God, and develop habits that will help you love God and others better. And now, here's your host, Barb Raveling.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have all of you guys here. I am podcasting once again from Astoria, Oregon. Just a few minutes ago, there was a barge going right down the river. So as I sit here and do my little podcast work with you, I'm watching barges, and it's just so fun. I never get tired of watching them go by. I had a great interview this morning with Mark Batterson that I'm really excited to share with you. Mark has a new book coming out today, and it's called Please, Sorry, Thanks, the 3 words that change everything. And as I read this book, you guys, I laughed out loud. I was convicted. I was inspired. And I had some, they had some really practical tips too, just for relationships, for life, for being content, and for mindset. So I'm excited about this book. I'm actually going to order it, I think, so I can write notes. That's how much I like it. And we actually have 2 books to give away. If you go to my Facebook page and leave a comment either on the post that shares this podcast, I'll also have a book giveaway post. Leave a comment in one of those 2 places, and I'll be giving away a book. If you live in North America, you can sign up for that book giveaway. Okay, let me introduce Mark. He is the lead pastor of National Community Church in Washington, D.C. It's one church in multiple locations. They own and operate Ebenezer's Coffee House, the Capitol Turnaround, Miracle Theater, and the D.C. Dream Center. Mark is the New York Times bestselling author. He has 23 books published, including his latest, and he lives on Capitol Hill with his wife, Laura, and they also have 3 children. Okay, let's get to that podcast interview. Okay, I'm here with Mark Batterson talking about his new book, Please, Sorry, Thanks. Welcome to the podcast, Mark.
Thank you, Barb. Good to be with you.
Well, it's so great to have you because I absolutely love your book and excited to share it with my readers. This is a book I can highly recommend you guys. It's so helpful. So why don't you start out just by telling us a little bit about your book? I think you said in your book, all we have to do is be good at 3 things. What are they?
It's true. I think if we're good at please, sorry, and thanks, we're good to go. Nothing opens doors like please. Nothing mends fences like sorry. Nothing builds bridges like thanks. And so if you're good at those 3 things, Barb, I think marriage, parenting, workplace, even relationship with God, like it takes care of itself. And so I think those 3 words really are great predictors of success at life and love and relationship.
Right. And it's interesting. You divide the book into 3 sections, please, sorry, and thanks. And just to get an overview, I kind of just read the intro to each of those sections. I did that in the morning. And then my husband came home at lunch and I tried out everything you said. And it was so interesting. I felt like it actually changed our interactions. We had a really fun little lunch. So I'm just really interested in all of these things that you talk about in the book. Let's start with please. What would you say about the please? Is it just like, please pass the potatoes? Is that all we need to do?
I mean, well, that doesn't hurt, the please pass. But, to me, it's a posture. It's about leveling the playing field, even putting the ball in someone else's court. No one wants to be told what to do. People who, whether it be entitlement or even they're just in a position of authority, kind of tell you what to do, that's never as effective as a good old-fashioned please. And so, it's more than just a polite word. I think it's a posture towards other people that says, consider others better than yourself. The greatest of all is the servant of all. That it's about honoring and empowering other people. And so, Barb, I feel like leadership, a lot of it is just relinquishing rights. And when you reach the highest level of leadership, now you have the right to wash other people's feet. And so please to me is an approach that honors other people and allows them to say a willing yes, because a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. I think that's an old saying that I heard somewhere. So I think please will open a lot more doors than position or title or resume.
Yeah, and I think you talk in that section a little bit about two kinds of people. Here I am, and here you are. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, first kind of person walks into the room and their ego barely fits through the door. It's all about me, myself, and I. But that second kind of person, there you are, is all about everybody else. It's about adding value to other people. And the world would be a better place if we were focused on others. And so to me, that's where it starts. It's this approach to life that is others focused, and we may think, well, how do I get my needs met, or how do I achieve what I want to achieve? I think those things are more the byproduct of treating other people the right way, of putting other people first, and you'll be amazed at how many doors fly open. So yeah, there you are. People are the people that I think make the world go around.
Okay, I thought it was interesting too. You talked a little bit about resistance in there because when we're asking for something, we usually want something, right? And not everybody is willing to do it. And you said in the book, I don't care if your name is Moses and you come down Mount Sinai with stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God, you will encounter resistance. So I laughed at that one. A lot of these places in the books, guys, I actually laughed out loud. So what do you do when you encounter resistance?
Well, you can please all the people some of the time, some of the people all the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. So I think, Barb, it's recognizing that not everybody is going to agree with us all the time. In fact, we have four principles of peacemaking at National Community Church. One, ask anything. Two, listen well. Three, disagree freely. Four, love regardless. And that approach, I think, allows us to maybe disagree about things, but not cancel each other in the process. I think life is too short and people are too valuable to do that. And so, yeah, I think you get really good at please, and you'll be surprised at the way that it creates more opportunities than you trying to force your way into it. In fact, Barb, my experience is people who try to impress other people are unimpressive, and people who aren't trying to impress anybody are really impressive. And so it's kind of a humility that undergirds us, and please is a humble word, no doubt.
Yeah, I like it. I like the way you talked about all that in the book. Okay, and then the next one we go to is sorry. So, why do you think sorry is such a hard thing to say?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is if you're married, you might as well get good at this word because you're going to be saying it a lot. And if you have kids, you might as well get good at it because you're going to make some mistakes along the way. On that note, just a word of encouragement. You'll never be a perfect parent, but you can be a praying parent. And I think prayer turns parents into prophets who shape the destiny of their kids. And I would also say, don't beat yourself up when you make a mistake. Apologize to your kids. Like, how else are they going to learn how to apologize if they don't hear you say sorry? And so I think sorry is just it's a word that gets stuck in our throat. It's kind of a frog in the throat because we don't like admitting that we're wrong or that we made a mistake. But Barb, that's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign of strength. Someone who can admit when they're wrong. And if we don't own our mistakes are going to own us.
Yeah, and I've noticed you said something in the book about focusing on other people when we say sorry, and maybe what's happening to them, developing empathy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, empathy is really the quintessence of emotional intelligence, which Daniel Goleman wrote a wonderful book about it. I read it probably 2 decades ago. But it's this idea of putting yourself in other people's shoes, of feeling what they feel.
Mm,
And I have two rules of life. One, every person is my superior in some way, and
mm,
that I learn of them. So I want to hack other people's habits. I want to study other people and kind of reverse engineer what they do well. But then
mhm.
the second one is everyone's fighting a battle I know nothing about. And so that gives me an extra measure of grace towards the other people in my life. And so those two things are kind of guardrails for me in terms of how I try to treat other people.
Yeah, I would think that'd be helpful too when you're looking for somebody to say sorry to you, to remember that, because sometimes if people say sorry, like what if they just say, "Well, I'm sorry." Is that like a real sorry?
I think we would tell our kids, well, what are you sorry for? Because if you don't put it into words, we're gonna be right back here. And so I think there are a lot of empty apologies, and you have to figure out exactly what you're sorry about, and then it's genuine, and then it's something that you can ultimately change. So I think your sorry has to be specific,
Mm.
and the more specific it is, probably the more genuine it is.
Okay, and what do you mean by specific?
Well, I'll put it in spiritual terms. Lord, I'm sorry for everything I've ever done wrong. Amen. Can God forgive those things? Well, absolutely He can. But um, if you're a little bit more specific, now it's going to lead towards not just forgiveness but change. And I think that's what true repentance is. The Greek word is metanoia, change of mind. So
Mm.
if I really want to change my mind, there needs to be some level of specificity. And I think this holds true for apologies, but it also holds true for gratitude. It holds
Mm.
true for prayer. It holds true for love. Like we love 1,000 things, but maybe if we were more specific about what we love about our spouse, for example, I think it would be a little bit more meaningful.
Oh, good. And I think you talked about specificity even in please. Like when you say please, you should also be specific, right? So you don't just say, "Can you just be a better worker?" Right? Or you ask for something specifically or something, or what do you mean by that in the please realm?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is true of all of life. Like, if you're setting a goal, and I know habits is kind of the emphasis and sort of what you're about, Barb. So, when it comes to habits, like, uh, yeah, I mean, getting in shape, that's great, but that's not really a goal. Um, how many miles do you want to run by what date? Now that's a goal, and now you can reverse engineer it. So I think with please, it's being specific about what you're asking for. And it's interesting to me that Jesus even models this. He has an encounter with a blind man and says, "What do you want me to do for you?" Well, the answer seems obvious, but he's wanting that man to put it in his own words. And I think that's a powerful thing. And so part of what I really am believing for with this book is that people would learn how to personalize their pleas. In other words, put your fingerprint on it. How do you say please? So years ago, someone came into my office and gave me a gift, and it wasn't my birthday and it wasn't Christmas. And so I was a little bit confused. And I think they could tell that. And so they just said, wise men come bearing gifts. And I kind of chuckled at that because it's hard to argue with. And I have started when I walk into meetings or when I go speak at conferences, I often bring gifts. And why? Because wise men come bearing gifts. And so, sometimes giving a gift is a wonderful way to say please. Now, you always have to check your motives. If you're trying to manipulate, it will always backfire. People see through the smoke screen of false motives. But if you're genuinely trying to add value and just express your love towards other people, then King Solomon said a gift will open the way for the giver and might even gain you access to the king himself. And so I think that's an example of how you can personalize your pleas.
Great. Okay, well, the last section of the book was about thanks. And I actually read that one first. I skipped around and that had so much helpful information in it. So can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah. Albert Einstein said there are only two ways to live your life. One is as if nothing is a miracle, and the other is as if everything is a miracle. And so, Barb, I fall into that latter category. I think it's all a miracle. I mean, our hearts will beat about 100,000 times a day today, pump 6 quarts of blood through 60,000 miles of veins and arteries and capillaries. And so I know people who would say they've never experienced a miracle. Well, with all due respect, you have never not. You are a miracle. And so I think learning to live life in a way that recognizes the miracles that are all around us all the time is just such a better way to live than complaining about this, that, and the other thing. So I think thanks is really the flywheel of gratitude, and gratitude begets gratitude. It's this law of reciprocity, and so I think thanks is a powerful, not just tool, but a powerful way of life.
Yeah, I think I felt like it was a good way to help get over discontentment. Do you feel like it really changes your mood?
It does. And on that note, we used to say to our kids, your face tells your body how to feel.
Mm.
And so we all have a superpower, and it's a smile. Smiling is I think a simple way with body expression to say thank you. And so I think we could probably use those 42 facial muscles. And I think it's the seventh cranial nerve. I think those are the things that allow us to smile. And, it may not be the strongest muscles in the human body, but might be the most important. That a smile goes a long ways. And, I think is a part of this jigsaw puzzle called gratitude.
Yeah. I was thinking even just thankfulness to God too. He was unhappy when all the Israelites were grumbling. He likes us to thank him, to be thankful. I think he knows too that how much better it makes us feel and how much we live the more full life if we're thankful people.
Yeah. Well, the psalmist said that we enter his gates with thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think we get in the front door without thanks. And so in that relationship with God, I think thanks is a key piece of the puzzle. You remember this story where Jesus heals 10 lepers, and 9 of them go on their merry way and they're healed physically. But I think only one of them was healed of ingratitude, the one who came back and said thanks to Jesus. So, in Judaism, you would pronounce 100 blessings a day, that you would have 100 gratitudes every single day. It's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And the Talmud says that to receive a gift or to receive a blessing and not give thanks is like stealing it from God. So I don't want to shoplift any blessings. I want to make sure that I give thanks, and whatever we don't turn into praise turns into pride. And so I think the last part of the book, probably my favorite part to write, Barb, and I think the part of the book that will really help people cultivate gratitude and more specifically gratitude for God.
Yeah, that's good. And that life is so much better when you live in gratitude. What's one way we can grow in gratitude?
Yeah, I think a gratitude journal is, to me, just such a wonderful way. 1 Corinthians 10:5, take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. You've got to take grateful thoughts captive. And when I keep a gratitude journal, it forces me to be focused on the things that happen every single day that, oh, I'm grateful for that. And one of the things that my wife and I do every single week is we share our gratitudes with each other. And I think what that does is it fosters a healthy positivity. It gives us a little bit of foundation of gratitude, because life happens and life is hard and not every circumstance is great. But that gratitude journal, I think, for us has really become a center of gravity in our relationship.
Well, I love that. Well, I know you have to get out for another interview. I'm just thankful that you were able to come to us before that other interview. So why don't you let us know where people can reach you online and find your book?
Yeah, markbatterson.com. And we've got a few freebies there, some downloads that people can get that will be coupled with the book. Can even read a sample chapter from Please, Sorry, Thanks. And then I'm on social media, all of those platforms, just Mark Batterson on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and would love to connect there.
That's great. And that reminds me that we are giving away 2 copies of the book, and you can go over to my Facebook page and leave a comment. I'll have a post about this interview, leave a comment there, and we'll give 2 those copies away. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Mark. It was really great to have you.
Joy and privilege. Thanks so much, Barb. God bless.
Okay. And thank all of you guys for being here. It's great to have you. Have a good week, and I will talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Christian Habits Podcast. If you'd like more help with stopping and starting habits, check out Barb's blog at www.barbraveling.com.